To watch these important lessons, subscribe to DP Education's YouTube channel right now. Click on the bell icon to stay updated on the latest lessons. Sri Lanka's largest free online school, DP Education.
Right, children. Now we are going to start the third chapter of this lesson. So under this chapter, we are going to learn about the systems of the human body. So this year, we are going to learn about two main human systems. What are they? I already explained y'all. What are the two systems, children? That is the digestive system and the respiratory system. Right, children? Let's go through this. There are various biological processes like respiration, food digestion, movement, excretion, etc. taken place in the human body. Right? Different activities take place. Energy is needed for the function of them. Energy. For any activity takes place in the human body, energy is necessary. Energy is needed for the function of them. Right, children? Look at these examples. This person is playing cricket. This one is running. These are dancing. Right? All these activities need a large amount of energy. Do all the activities done by us need energy? Yes, even before we have discussed these things. Right? Now, these type of activities need a large amount of energy. But at the same time, we do other activities as well. Writing, moving our hands, blinking the eyes. Those are also activities done by our body, the human body. Do they need energy? Yes. All these activities need a certain amount of energy. Right? What I mentioned y'all now. Blinking your eyes, writing, those type of activities don't need this much of energy. Right? So now it's very clear that for some activities you have to have a lot of energy. For some other activities you don't need that much of energy. Right? So how do we produce energy in our body? So in order to produce energy, we need to have two main systems. That is what we are going to learn under this chapter. Right? Several reactions take place in our body when we are active with activities like playing or dancing, and even when we are not doing anything. When we are just sitting also, let's say that we are not doing anything, we are just sitting and waiting. That also needs energy. Right? Several reactions take place in our body when we are active with activities like playing or dancing, and even when we are not doing anything. Right? The energy needed for such activities is taken by burning or reacting the food we take with oxygen in the cells. This is really important, right? The energy needed for such activities is taken by burning or reacting. Burning or reacting the food we take with oxygen in the cells. So you all are going to learn in the upper grades, if a certain substance reacts with oxygen, that is known as burning. That's why here it's given burning or reacting the food we take with oxygen in the cells. So what are the systems we need to do these activities? Right? Let's go through this. Consider how oxygen and simple food are supplied to man for obtaining energy. Do you remember last year in grade 6, we learned about something called respiration. Under respiration, we learned that the respiration means the production of energy by burning food. Right? The production of energy when oxygen is combined with the food we eat. Right? We learned it this way. Oxygen reacts with food. Oxygen reacts with food and produces energy, and another byproduct is there. Energy and carbon dioxide gas. Carbon dioxide. Okay, children. oxygen reacts with food and gives out energy and carbon dioxide. Now this energy is used to do our activities. Right, this energy is used to do our activities. So consider how oxygen and simple food are supplied to man for obtaining energy. Right? So, which means in order to produce energy, our body has to have two main substances. What are they? The oxygen gas and food. Right? So, this oxygen is supplied by the respiratory system. Right? When we inhale, now we are going to learn about the parts of the respiratory system. We have the lungs. When we inhale, oxygen goes in the lungs, and from there, oxygen is given to blood. Blood can take oxygen throughout your body. Right? That's how we get oxygen. What about the food we eat? The food we eat inside the digestive system, the food breaks down and the nutrients are absorbed by your body. So these absorbed nutrients by the blood is given to all the other cells. So through blood, both oxygen and food are taken to the cells. So inside the cells, they react with each other and energy is produced. Right, children? So consider how oxygen and simple food are supplied to man for obtaining energy. Complex food is broken into simple components by the digestive system. When we eat food, the food breaks down by the digestive system. Right? Complex food is broken into simple pieces, simple components by the digestive system. Right? The respiratory system supplies oxygen to our body. Right, children? So therefore, which means in order to produce energy, we have to have oxygen and food. In order to produce oxygen and food, we need the support of the digestive system and the respiratory system. Therefore, under this lesson, we are going to learn about these two systems. Right? Okay. So first we are going to learn about the digestive system of man. What is the main function of the digestive system? Digestion of food. What is the importance of having a digestive system, children? Now, when we eat food, all the nutrients present in the food present as large amounts. Now the problem is, when we eat food, all these nutrients cannot be absorbed by our cells right away because they are present as large molecules. Right, children? So as they present as large molecules, our body needs to simplify them. That is done by breaking them down into small pieces. So this breaking down process is done by the digestive system. Right, children? Otherwise, even if we eat food, if our body cannot break them down, our cells cannot absorb the nutrients present in the food that we eat. Right? Therefore, your body needs to break them down so that they become very simple. When they become very simple, your body can absorb them very easily. Right, children? The food we eat is normally big pieces and complex. It's not simple. Therefore, that cannot be absorbed by the body. Right? So therefore, our body needs to break it down. This breaking down process is known as digestion. Right? The breaking down of food into simple substances is called digestion. Right? The breaking down of food into simple substances is called digestion. This is the definition. Then it can be absorbed easily. Right? During the digestion of food, the large food particles break down into small pieces. After that, your body can, when it is simple, your body can absorb it easily. Right, children? Now, when we consider the digestion of food takes place under two main steps. What are the two main steps, children? There are two types of digestions. The first type is known as mechanical digestion. The second step is known as the chemical digestion. So what is the meaning of mechanical digestion, children? So when you eat food inside the mouth cavity with the help of your teeth, the large food particles broken into small pieces, right? With the help of your teeth and even the tongue, because tongue is very important to mix the food with saliva and to move the food here and there inside the mouth cavity, right? Especially with the help of the teeth, large food particles break down into small pieces, and this is known as the mechanical digestion. So after mechanical digestion, you swallow food and food goes to the inner parts of the digestive system. There what happens, children? From different organs, digestive juices are added to the food. These are known as digestive enzymes. These are chemical substances, children. So the small food pieces can react well with these chemical substances called digestive enzymes because they are smaller and their surface area is higher. So they have more space to react with the chemical substances. Then what happens, children? These small pieces, when they react with the chemical substances, they become even smaller pieces. So by teeth, big food pieces are broken into small pieces. With the help of the digestive enzymes in your stomach and all the other parts of the digestive system, what happens? These small pieces are broken into even smaller pieces, right? So when they turn into even smaller pieces, so very simple particles, what happens? Those nutrients can be absorbed by your body very easily. So that is why I said even just using your teeth, just breaking down of food is just not enough. It has to mix up with the digestive juice or the digestive enzymes in order for that chemical reactions to happen. Right, children? Okay. Teeth break down food into smaller particles inside the mouth. Then it makes it easier to digest food by digestive juices, right? When passed along the digestive tract, which means the path. Then these small food pieces are digested into simple pieces by the digestive juices secreted, given out from different parts of the digestive system. Finally, they are absorbed into the body. So the purpose of digestion of food means because our body cannot absorb the nutrients present in the food we eat. It has to be simplified. That is done by stepwise. Okay, children? Right. So the process of food digestion can be simplified as follows. Now here, the food particles. Big food particles are turned into small food particles using the teeth. This is known as mechanical digestion. Mechanical digestion. Mechanical digestion by teeth. Right? So large food particles are broken into small food particles using teeth, and this is known as the mechanical digestion. Right, children? So then what happens? The second step is small food particles are broken into even smaller food particles, so simple food particles. This is known as the chemical digestion. So chemical digestion is done by digestive juices, so we can simply say enzymes. Enzymes. Right, children? Now these simple food particles can be absorbed by your body. Understood, children? In this way, when it comes to digestion, the digestion or the breaking down of food and absorption are both done by the digestive system. First, it breaks down the food, the large particles, into small pieces, and the small food pieces into simple or even smaller pieces by the mechanical and chemical digestions. Right? That is stage 1. Then what happens, children? Those simplified food is absorbed by your digestive system, by your body. So both can be done by the digestive system. So what are the two main functions of the digestive system? Breaking down of food into simple parts. Number 2, absorption of the simple food. Right, children? Okay. So it's not easy to digest all types of food that we take in a single organ. That's why the digestive system has different organs. Next we are going to learn it. Right? Therefore, digestion takes place step by step in several organs. Right? Two main functions of the human digestive system are mentioned below. Number one, conversion of complex food into simple substances. This is done in two steps. Number one, mechanical digestion. Number two, chemical digestion. Right? Conversion of complex food into simple substances is done in two steps. Right? Number two, so after converting it into simple substances, what is the second function done by the digestive system? Just breaking down is not enough. The purpose of breaking down of food is absorbing the nutrients finally. Right? In order to absorb the nutrients easily only, our body has to break down this large food into simpler pieces. Right? So the second function is absorption of simple food to the body. Now this absorption is done by blood. So the nutrients are given to the blood, and blood can now take all these nutrients throughout the body to the relevant places. Okay, children? Right. So we have this activity. Try to identify main parts of the human digestive system by using a model or a diagram. Now we are going to identify these parts using a 3D diagram of the digestive system. Right, children? Now this is a 3D picture of the digestive system. So because of the rib cage, we can't see it properly. Therefore, I'm going to remove the rib cage so that you all can see it clearly. So you all can see, when you consider the human body, basically there are three main areas. The head, the chest cavity, it is known as the thoracic cavity, and the abdominal cavity, or the abdomen, right? So you all can see the digestive system starts from the head area, right? Because it starts from the mouth cavity, the mouth, okay? So, and it comes as a tubular structure, and you all can see in the abdominal cavity, you all can see all the other parts are there. Right, children? So, we'll remove these things first to observe this clearly. Right. Right. Okay. So you all can see now. I'll remove this part as well. Right. Okay. So I will rotate it a bit to this side. You all can see this is the mouth cavity. Starting from the mouth cavity, it comes as a tubular structure. You all can see this area, throat area, this area is known as the pharynx. So after pharynx, this tubular structure is present. This tubular structure is known as the esophagus, right? So esophagus combines with the stomach. So this is the stomach. You all can see, if you observe very carefully, it's partially here. If I do this, you all can see it combines. This esophagus combines with this light pink color sac-like structure, that is the stomach. What is this maroon color structure? That is the liver. Now, even though liver is part of the digestive system, food does not go through the liver, but liver adds different digestive juices to the food. Okay? So here, then this is the stomach. From there, the stomach. Now, from here, you can't see it properly. Stomach connects to the small intestine. Now, this is the small intestine, what I colored. Right? This is the small intestine. So, from small intestine, then food comes from the mouth cavity, through the pharynx, through the esophagus to the stomach. Then what happens, children? From the stomach, then food enters the small intestine. From the small intestine, food enters the large intestine. and then it goes through the large intestine, and here I will remove these parts as well. When you remove all the bones, it's easy to observe this. Right, children? Okay, children? So you all can see this is the stomach. I will turn it to the other side so that we can see it clearly. Right. Right, children. Check, I removed all the bone parts here. The skeletal system I removed. Now you can observe clearly from here. This is the stomach. Right. So from here you all can see this is the small intestine. Right. This tiny tubular structure is the small intestine. It connects to the stomach from here. You all can see. Right. So this is the small intestine. And then food. After going through the small intestine, food enters the large intestine. Now this is the large intestine. Right. You all can see it goes from here around and comes back. And this path is known as the rectum, and this is the anus. Okay, children. So here you all can see this leaf-like structure. This is known as the pancreas. From the front view, you can't see it properly. It is a leaf-like structure. Okay, children. It is a leaf-like structure, and this is the liver. Okay. Right. Now, here what happens? The food enters the food coming from the mouth cavity enters the stomach, and then it enters the small intestine, large intestine, and through the rectum and anus, undigested food goes out. So food never enters the liver and the pancreas. But liver and the pancreas also very important in order to produce digestive juice, and the digestive juice or digestive enzymes are added to the digestive tract, and the food gets mixed with the digestive enzymes or digestive juice at different places, and then the food gets digested, right? So when the food goes to half of the small intestine, the digestion completes, right? So the digestion completes, and in the other half of the small intestine, what happens, children? The nutrients, the simplified nutrients or the food items are actively absorbed by the blood, by your body. Right? And then finally, the undigested food enters the large intestine. So by the time the food enters the large intestine, it is a semi-solid mixture. So in the large intestine, what happens, children? The food is, or the water present in the food, about 90% of water present in the food is absorbed by the large intestine. Therefore, the fecal matter or feces that we send out of the body is a solid mixture. Right, children? So I hope you understood this 3D structure of the digestive system. Right, children? So you'll observe the 3D diagram of the human digestive system. Let's go and see. Here again we have a 3D diagram. So compare your findings with the following figures, right? Digestive system of man. This is the 3D structure. Same type of structure we observed while moving it here and there, right? So it starts from the mouth cavity, right? The food enters through the mouth, and you all can see in the mouth cavity, salivary glands are connected to the mouth cavity. So salivary glands, there are 3 pairs of salivary glands. They produce saliva. Now saliva is very important to one way in mixing the food. When you chew food, it should be mixed with watery substance. So saliva provides that medium. Okay? And the other thing, when you taste food, when your tongue is very dry, you can't taste food properly, children. That's because the taste is caused because of the chemical substances present in food. Therefore, these chemical substances first should dissolve in water. In this case, if your tongue is very dry, you cannot taste food very well. So when saliva is secreted, the food, because as it contains water, the chemicals in the food related to the taste, it dissolves in the saliva, and so you can feel the taste well. And at the same time, when the food is mixed with saliva, it's easy to swallow food. At the same time, salivary glands or the saliva contains this special type of chemical substance, right? It is actually a digestive juice. Okay, this digestive juice is also added to food, and the digestion, the chemical digestion starts in the mouth cavity. You are going to learn in the upper grades actually the digestion of carbohydrates start in the mouth cavity. That is because certain digestive juice or digestive enzyme responsible for the digestion of carbohydrates also contained in saliva. Okay, children? So then what happens? Inside the mouth cavity, the large food particles broken into small pieces by teeth, right? Then what happens? Using the tongue, food is pushed towards the pharynx. Now, pharynx is an area, you all are going to learn that the pharynx is an area common to both digestive and the respiratory system. How? Because when you consider the digestive system, this is the esophagus. When you consider the respiratory system, just after this pharynx, that path divides into two parts, right? Just after the pharynx, the path is divided into two parts like this, right? This path is divided into two parts. Okay, this is the path. From here, it's divided into two parts. Now, this is the esophagus. From this side, the respiratory tract begins. Okay, this is where the respiratory tract begins. Therefore, when you consider the pharynx is an area common to both the digestive system and the respiratory system. Right, children? And in the pharynx, no digestion takes place. And then from the pharynx, what happens? Food is pushed towards the esophagus, right? So the esophagus is a tubular structure, children. Okay, esophagus is a tubular structure. Even in here, no digestion takes place, right? Digestion does not take place in the pharynx or the esophagus. Okay, so the food enters the stomach. Now inside the stomach, food stores for about 2 to 3 hours. It depends on the type of the food you eat. Okay, and at the same time, the stomach also produces, it secretes this digestive juice. It presents as a mixture. This mixture produced or the secreted by the stomach is known as the gastric juice. It's a mixture of different substances. It has hydrochloric acid as well. It has water, hydrochloric acid, mucus, and digestive juice. Right, children? Because it has hydrochloric acid, the food you eat becomes a bit acidic in the stomach. Okay, children? So acidity is added and digestion also takes place. In the upper grades, you are going to learn the digestion of proteins start in the stomach. For the digestion of proteins, the medium should be a bit acidic. That is why hydrochloric acid is present. Understood, children? So, in the stomach, as I told you all, the food is temporarily stored for about 3 hours. So, after that, you all can see the stomach goes like this and it curves from this place. This place is known as, this is the very beginning of the small intestine. This place is known as the duodenum. Now, now you all can see this pancreas. The leaf-like structure is connected to the duodenum. And the gallbladder. Now, gallbladder is also connected to the duodenum. So, the gallbladder and pancreas also produces certain digestive juice or enzymes, and that is also added to the first part of the small intestine. So, from stomach to small intestine, when the food goes from the stomach to the small intestine, what happens, children? Food gets mixed with this digestive juice secreted by the pancreas and the gallbladder. Right, children? Then the food enters the small intestine. When the food goes halfway through the small intestine, the digestion completes. Even in the small intestine, digestive juice is added. Right? So, when the food goes through the small intestine halfway, the digestion completes. So, what happens in the next half? Now I told you all, in the mouth cavity, the bigger food particles break down into small food pieces. Then those small pieces are given to the stomach and it passes through stomach and the small intestine. By the time it comes to halfway the small intestine, it turns into, from small pieces, it turns into even smaller pieces, so simpler pieces. Right, that's what I said. When the food comes about half of the small intestine, digestion is completed. Now, what are the main functions of the digestive system? First, it breaks down food into simple particles. The second function is these simple particles are absorbed by the body. So, in the second half, what happens, children? The food, all the simplified food, all the nutrients present in food are actively absorbed by the small intestine. Right, children? So, when the food comes to the end of the small intestine, digestion and absorption of nutrients, everything is completed. Now, when it comes to the large intestine, what happens? What type of food enters the large intestine, children? It should be large, right? Large intestine, children. The undigested food, right? The residue or the undigested food enters the large intestine. By this time, when the food enters, the undigested food enters the large intestine, what happens, children? The food is in a semi-solid form, which means solid and liquid mixed with each other in a kind of watery form. So, when food travels through the large intestine, you can see from here, it goes through the large intestine. By the time food goes through the large intestine, what happens? From the walls of the large intestine, nearly 90% of water present in the food is reabsorbed. Right, children? So then, when the food enters this place, what happens? That undigested food becomes a solid mass. Right? That solid mass is known as feces or fecal matter. So then fecal matter through the rectum and through the anus, it is sent out. Right, children? So now you know that there are many parts of the digestive system. In each part, different type of digestion takes place. And there are some parts which do not help with digestion of food. That food digestion does not take place at. Right? For example, in the pharynx, esophagus, no digestion takes place. In the stomach and small intestine, also digestion takes place. What about the large intestine? No digestion again, but absorption of water takes place. Right, children? So what is this part? At the beginning of this large intestine, at this end, there's a pouch-like part called appendix is present, but it does not help with digestion. It's just a pouch-like part. Okay, children? So I hope you understood the structure of the digestive system. Okay? Here we have the line diagram of the digestive system again. Shall we label this, children? Try to label this before me. Now, I explained you all how to label this type of diagram. Now, you all have to try to label this diagram before me. Okay? Right, the digestive system of man, the line diagram. We will try to do this now. Right. Okay, children. Let's label this one. What is this? This is the mouth or mouth cavity. Mouth cavity. Salivary glands. There are 3 pairs of salivary glands. Pharynx. Esophagus, the tubular structure. Esophagus, stomach, liver, gallbladder, here, pancreas, small intestine, large intestine, appendix, rectum, anus. Right, children? So what is the path of food? From mouth cavity through pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, rectum, anus. Right? So food does not go through any of the other organs mentioned here. Therefore, those organs are known as the organs associated with the digestive tract or digestive system, like pancreas, liver, bladder, gallbladder. They are known as the organs that are associated with the digestive system. Right, children? Okay. Here we have the table of the functions of each part, right? Functions of various organs of the human digestive system, right? So we have to write the relevant organ here. So structural features and functions. Now what is the first one? Breakdown of food particles into small pieces by teeth. Mechanical digestion. We learned that the bigger food pieces are broken into small food pieces by the mouth cavity, and this type of digestion is known as mechanical digestion, right? And secretion of saliva by salivary glands to aid digestion of food. That is also happens in the mouth cavity. So beginning the chemical digestion of food by saliva. I explained you all saliva has a certain chemical digestive juice which is very important for the digestion of carbohydrates, okay? And mix food with saliva by tongue, right? Chemical digestion, actually beginning the chemical digestion and mix food with saliva by tongue. This is the beginning of the chemical digestion, right? So mechanical digestion takes place in the mouth cavity. Chemical digestion begins in the mouth cavity too. Therefore, what is this organ? Here, mouth cavity. Mouth cavity. Next one. It is the common cavity of the digestive tract and the larynx. What is larynx, children? Have you heard of this term, larynx? Now, in the sound lesson also, I explained your larynx means, now when you are small, you learn that in the throat, the sound box is present. The sound box produces the voice, the vocal sound, okay? Larynx is the, now we all are big children. Right? You all are big children. You don't have to call it the sound box like very small children. The term given to the sound box back then you learned is larynx. Right? So larynx has the vocal cords, and because of the vibration of the vocal cords, the sound or vocal sound is produced. Okay? So it is the common cavity of the digestive tract and the larynx. What is this common cavity? That is common to the digestive tract and the respiratory tract. That is the pharynx. Okay? Push the food in the mouth cavity into esophagus. That is definitely the pharynx. Then push the food in mouth cavity to the stomach. What connects the mouth cavity and the stomach? That is the esophagus, the tubular structure. Okay? Esophagus. Next one. It is a muscular sac. Digestion is efficient due to acidic nature of digestive juice. Right? Because of the acidic nature. So what is this? The stomach. Because stomach produces or secretes a mixture of different substances called gastric juice. It has hydrochloric acid in it. Therefore, that mixture is acidic. Right? Digestion is efficient due to acidic nature of digestive juice. Food is stored in the stomach for about 3 hours. food is digested further by mixing of digestive juices in the stomach, right? Therefore, this is the stomach. Next one. It is about 6 meters long folded tube, right? This is the length of the small intestine, right? So, it's about 6 meters long folded tube. In the abdominal cavity, it's nicely folded and therefore we can't see it's a very long structure, but actually it is about 6 meters long folded tube, right? Different types of food digest with digestive juices. Carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, all the digestions complete in this small intestine, right? Digestion is completed and absorb digestive food to the body. I told you the first part, when the food goes through the first half of the small intestine, the digestion completes, and in the second half, nearly second half, we can say, the absorption of nutrients take place, okay? And there are finger-like projections called villi or villi, also correct, in the small intestine to increase the surface for efficient digestion. Now, it's like this, children. When you consider the small intestine, it's a tubular structure. The inner wall is folded into projections like this, right? The inner wall is folded into finger-like projections. These are known as villi. This type of structure is known as villus. Right. Okay, children, so we can consider this is the wall of the small intestine. Right. This is the wall of the small intestine. This is where, now this white color part is where the food goes through. You all can see, we will take a different color. When food goes through this type of tubular structure, it touches more surfaces. Let's just imagine if the digestive tract is just like this, inner wall and outer wall, if they are both straight, when the food goes through this one, when the food touches a less surface area, right? But when you consider this type of structure, because of these finger-like projections, what happens, children? The food can stay longer, a little longer, and also the food touches more surface areas in the digestive tract, which means these walls of the digestive tract or the small intestine gets a better chance to absorb more and more nutrients present in the food as it goes from one side to the other side. Right, children? This is the importance of this finger-like structure. You all are going to learn that there's another special structure, special other parts present in this type of finger-like structures. You are going to learn it in the upper grades. Right, children? So these type of finger-like projections or structures are known as villi. So one structure is known as villus. The plural form is villi. Villi is also correct. Villi. Okay, children? Right. So there are finger-like projections called villi in the small intestine to increase the surface for efficient digestion. Okay? Right. So therefore, this is the small intestine. Next one. It is shorter than the small intestine but considerably broad. What is this? This is the large intestine. Right? This is shorter than the small intestine but it is broader. That is why it is known as the large intestine. Absorption of water takes place. I told you all, when the food enters the large intestine, the digestion and absorption both completed. Right? So digestion and absorption both are completed when the food enters the large intestine, but at the same time, food is in a semi-solid as a semi-solid mixture. So the most of the water, or about 90% of water present in the food, is absorbed by the large intestine. Right? This is the large intestine. It is the terminal end in the digestive system. What is the terminal end? That is the anus. Semi-solid feces is released through anus. Right? This is the anus. Right, children? So let's go through this list again. Mouth cavity, breakdown of food particles into small pieces by teeth. This is the mechanical digestion. Secretion of saliva by salivary glands to aid digestion of food. Beginning the chemical digestion of food by saliva and mix food with saliva by tongue. Right? Pharynx is the common cavity of the digestive tract, and the larynx push the food in the mouth cavity into esophagus. Then esophagus. Push the food in mouth cavity to the stomach. Okay, then stomach. It's a muscular sac. Digestion is efficient due to acidic nature of digestive juices. Food is stored in the stomach for about 3 hours. Food is digested further by mixing of digestive juices in the stomach. Then small intestine. It's about 6 meters long folded tube. Different types of food digest with digestive juices. Digestion is completed and absorb digestive food to the body. There are finger-like projections called villi in the small intestine to increase the surface for efficient digestion. Right? Large intestine. It is shorter than the small intestine but considerably broad. And absorption of water takes place. Finally, the anus. It is the terminal end in the digestive system. Semi-solid feces is released through anus. Right, children? Okay. And we have another activity to do. Make suitable models to demonstrate the human digestive system. So making models is very interesting, children. So when you make models, you all can do this as a group activity. Right? So when you make models like this, you can improve the knowledge on digestive system, especially on the about the different shapes of different organs. Right? Now, when you consider the organs, they are different from each other. Therefore, when you make models related to these type of activities like digestive system, you can get a better understanding on the shape of the organ. Right? Okay, let's consider now. When you consider the digestive system, it starts with the mouth cavity. Right? And then there's the stomach, small intestine, large intestine, rectum and anus. Apart from that, what else is there? The pancreas, the leaf-like structure, the liver, and the gallbladder. Right, children? What can you use to make these type of models, children? Number one, you can use paper pulp. How to make paper pulp, children? You can soak paper in water, and when it is well soaked, you can take it and you can squeeze out the water and you can make a pulp out of it. Right? So you can mold it to different shapes. The paper pulp, you can mold it to different shapes and you can make these type of shapes accordingly. And you can color them too. You can fix them on a board or let's say a bristle board or any other wooden board or something, and you can make these shapes and you can finally color them and label them too. Another method is, let's say that when you consider this tubular part, you can use a saline tube for this one. Right? This is the esophagus. Instead of the esophagus, you can use a saline tube. For this one, you can fill some water in a polythene bag and in order to get this shape, you can tie two ends with rubber bands. Right, children? And even these ones you can make with saline tubes. Right? Or you don't have to use the same medium. You can mix different media for this. You can mix clay to make the liver part. Okay? And you can add saline tubes. Or even this one, you can even add an empty pen tube because it's a tubular part. Right, children? Be creative. Discuss with your friends. You can get ideas from internet as well. Ask your teacher too. I hope that you will enjoy this activity. We'll move on to the next. Okay, children. Now we are going to study about the human respiratory system. Right, children? Now so far we learned about the digestive system. Now we know that digestive system is very important to break down the food items and in order to absorb all the nutrients present in food. Right? So why do we need the respiratory system? Let's learn. Why do animals breathe? Now we know the reason, right? We know that we breathe to take oxygen in. Only if we took oxygen in, we can produce energy, okay? Why do animals breathe? You can find out the answer by studying the following chart, okay? Now, we learned this chart before we learn about the two systems. Remember, without these parts, I gave you all the chart, okay? So, simple food reacts with oxygen. It's known as burning, okay? Burning of simple food or simple food reacts with oxygen. It gives out energy and carbon dioxide gas plus water vapor too. Right, children? So, during this process, how simple food is obtained? Now, this is the process. This is the process of producing energy in the cells, right? So, we need energy to do all the activities, right? Some activities need large amount of energy and some activities need only, compared to the other activities, some activities need only less amount of energy, right? However, energy is produced in this method, okay? So, when simple food reacts with oxygen, energy and carbon dioxide gas and water vapor is produced, okay? Now, how do we absorb simple food? By digestion of food, right? Simple food is provided by digestion. By digestion. And it reacts with oxygen. How do we get oxygen? We get oxygen by inhaling. Now that is why we need to breathe, right? By inhaling, we obtain oxygen. Right? Then energy is produced. This energy is used for biological activities, right? And what will happen to the carbon dioxide and water vapor produced? You all know that by exhaling, we send them out. Right, children? So, this is the process of respiration. Okay? So, it shows that as a result of respiration, energy is generated. Energy is generated as a process of respiration. Energy is generated and that energy is used for biological activities in the body. Right, children? Okay. Now, this is the definition. The process where energy is produced by reacting or burning of simple foods with oxygen is called respiration, right? The process where energy is produced by reacting or burning of simple foods with oxygen is called respiration. Right, children? So, when it comes to respiration, inhaling and exhaling process are also included, okay? The intake of air needed for respiration is called inspiration. Inhalation also correct, right? The intake of air needed for respiration is called inspiration or inhalation or even breathing in. Right, children? The intake. The air is taken to your body, right? During respiration, carbon dioxide and water vapor are formed. These are the byproducts are formed, and the elimination of these byproducts, getting rid of these byproducts. Now, carbon dioxide and water vapor should be removed from your body, right? So, how do you remove them? By exhaling or exhalation, right? So this is known as expiration or exhalation or breathing out. So breathing in is inhalation or inspiration. Breathing out is exhalation or expiration. Right, children? Accordingly, the air exchanging system in the body is called the respiratory system. Right? To take oxygen in and to send carbon dioxide and water vapor out, we have a specified system. That system is the respiratory system. Right, children? Okay. So we have this activity. Try to identify the main parts of the human respiratory system using a model or figure in the laboratory. Even this one we are going to identify using a 3D structure. Right, children? Now using this 3D picture, I am going to show you all the respiratory system. Now respiratory system, what are the main organs of the respiratory system, children? Even though we haven't learned about the respiratory system yet, you all know that the main organs present in the respiratory systems are lungs. You all can see, now these are the lungs. You all can see the lungs are protected inside the rib cage. There are two lungs, the right lung and the left lung. This is the right lung, this is the left lung. Now I told you all, when we learn about the human organ systems, we imagine that we are learning about the human organ systems of a human who is facing towards us. So in that case, this side is the right side, this side is the left side. Okay, this is the right side, left side. So lungs are delicate organs. They are protected inside the rib cage in the thoracic cavity, chest cavity, right? I will remove this rib cage first so that you can understand it very well. Right, now you all can see these are the two lungs. If I rotate, you all can see even from behind, it is protected partially like this. Okay, right. Right. So at the same time, if I turn this one, you all can see, if I remove these parts also. Now this is the nasal cavity. From the nasal cavity, this tubular structure starts. Right, I told you all when we consider the digestive tract and the respiratory tract, they begin from the pharynx. So this is the pharynx area. So the digestive tract or the esophagus present just behind this respiratory tract. So when you consider this tract, this tubular structure, soon after this pharynx, this is the pharynx area. Soon after the pharynx, you all can see this area is present. Now this area is known as the larynx area. Oh, the sound is produced here. The vocal cords present there, therefore the vocal sounds produced there. Right? Then the tubular structure begins from there. You all can see this tube-like structure that is known as trachea. Right? I will remove these lungs and show you all what happens here. You all can see, now when I remove the lungs, you all can see this tube-like structure divides into two branches. Right? Now this branch, this side, the right side branch is known as the right bronchus. Left branch is known as the left bronchus. The two bronchus together known as bronchi. Therefore, right and left bronchi. Okay, so this is the right bronchus, left bronchus, and two together as a plural form, it's known as bronchi. Okay, you all can see this better now. So these are the two branches, and you all can see here this right side again divides into other branches, and the left side also again divided into the other branches. These branches, one branch is known as bronchiole, right? So the bronchi divides into bronchioles, right? So the bronchioles keep on dividing into other small branches. Even though you can't see here, at the end of a very tiny branch, a sac-like structure is present. Right, children? That structure is known as an alveole. Okay, an alveole. The plural form is alveoli. So all the alveoles together known as alveoli. Okay, so starts from the nasal cavity, right? Starts from the nasal cavity, and this area is the pharynx area, and then this a bit protruded part is the larynx area where the sound is produced. From there, the tube-like structure rises. Right, children? This is the tube-like structure. You all can see, if I do this one, you all can see very clearly. This is the larynx area. This is the larynx area. This tube-like structure is known as trachea. Right? So when you inhale air, it comes through the nasal cavity and enters the larynx and then trachea, and then it goes to the two sides of the lungs, right? From trachea divides into two parts. This side is known as the right bronchus and this is the left bronchus. So each bronchus divides into other branches. These branches are known as bronchioles. Right? At the end of each bronchiole, the tiny bronchioles, at the end of these tiny branches, there's an air sac present. These air sacs are known as alveoli. Right, children? So I hope you understood this structure now. Right, children? So you all observe that 3D structure. Okay? So according to that structure, we can label this diagram as well. Respiratory system of human. This is a line diagram. Shall we label this, children? Try to do this without my help now. Right. So what is this? This is the nasal cavity. Nasal cavity. So this is the common passage pharynx. Then larynx. And then the tubular structure called trachea. And you all can see this branch is known as the bronchus. Now this is the left side, this is the right side. Therefore, let's write left bronchus. Bronchioles. There are many branches here. And this is the right lung. The entire lung is made by combining these type of structures, okay? Right lung. Right lung. And this is the rib cage. I told you all the lungs are protected by inside the rib cage, okay? This is the rib cage. What is this, children? Now, just below the lungs, now I told you all when we consider the human body, the head, then thorax. So thoracic cavity is present, which means the chest cavity. And right below the chest cavity, the abdominal cavity is present. It is divided by this muscular structure called the diaphragm. The diaphragm. Okay? What is this, children? This is the heart. When you learn about the circulatory system in the upper grades, you will learn that the heart is present in between the two lungs, a bit towards the left side. Okay? Even though heart is not coming under the respiratory system, it's not part of the respiratory system, but heart present next to, in between the two lungs, a bit towards the left side. Right, that's why we can see the heart also here. Right, children? So alveoli not given here, therefore I will simply draw alveoli here. So when we consider this is trachea, trachea. I will just take one side. They divide into two branches, right and left bronchus. And then the bronchi also keep on branching inside to tiny, tiny branches. At the end of each branch, these air sacs present. Right, children? These air sacs are known as alveoli. Alveoli. Right. Air sacs are known as alveoli. Now, these alveoli are surrounded by a lot of blood vessels, tiny blood vessels which are known as blood capillaries. So here what happens when you inhale air? What is the path of the airflow, children? They enter the nasal cavity, then goes to pharynx, larynx, trachea, then bronchus, bronchioles. From bronchioles, they enter the alveoli. So these air sacs get filled with air. Now you all know that the inhaled air contains a lot of oxygen. Now, as these alveoli are surrounded by the blood capillaries, the tiny blood vessels, what happens when these alveoli or the air sacs get filled with oxygen containing air, oxygen is given to the blood vessels. Now the blood vessels contain carbon dioxide. What happens? I will simply draw the blood vessels with a different color here. I will draw the blood vessels like this. Tiny blood vessels are surrounding these alveoli. Then what happens? Oxygen present in the inhaled air is given to blood vessels. At the same time, blood vessels contain carbon dioxide gas. The carbon dioxide is given to the alveoli. So when you inhale, your lungs or the alveoli gets filled with oxygen gas containing air. Then what happens? That oxygen is given to the blood vessels. Carbon dioxide gas collected by all the other cells are taken to the lungs by blood. So then what happens? Blood take oxygen and blood gives the carbon dioxide to the lungs or here the alveoli, the air sacs. Then what happens when you breathe out? That carbon dioxide goes out of the body through the same path. Same path means the path that air came in. From nasal cavity to pharynx to larynx to trachea to bronchus, bronchioles, alveoli. From again exhaled air from alveoli to bronchus, bronchioles, bronchus, then to trachea, larynx, pharynx, nasal cavity and out. Okay, children, so when you inhale, oxygen containing air comes in. When you exhale, carbon dioxide and water vapor containing air goes out. Right, children? Okay. Now here's the path, the respiratory process. Okay, let's go through this. The following chart explains the activities of the human respiratory system. Okay, we'll go one by one. Intake of inhaled air into the nasal cavity. The inhaled air, when you inhale air, the air outside enters the nasal cavity, right? The nose cavity. Remember, children, inside the nasal cavity, 3 changes take place in the inhaled air. We'll go to the next one. Air gets warmed. What is the reason? Now, when we consider the body temperature is higher than that of the outside temperature. So when air enters the nasal cavity, because the body temperature is higher, air also gets warm. That is the first change. Right? Air gets warm. That is the first change takes place in the inhaled air. Right, children? Air gets warmed and filtered. Now, when you consider the nasal cavity, nasal hair is present in the nasal cavity. And also, the inner layer of the nasal cavity is wet. Right, children? Because of these 2 reasons, dust and dirt particles get filtered, get stuck in the nasal cavity, and only the clean air goes inside the lungs. Right? The second change takes place in the inhaled air is it gets filtered. Right? Next one, while passing along the nasal cavity. And wetness, moisture is added. I told you all the inner lining or the inner epithelium of the nasal cavity is wet. Right? Mucus present and it is wet. Because of that, moisture is added to the inhaled air. Right, children? That is the third change that takes place. You need to memorize these three changes. Once inhaled, the air goes through three changes. Number one, air gets warmed. Number two, air gets filtered. And number three, wetness is added to air. Right, children? Next one. So the first step, air intake of inhaled air into the nasal cavity. In the nasal cavity, these three changes take place. Then air moves from pharynx to trachea through larynx. Right? From the nasal cavity, pharynx to trachea through larynx, because larynx present in between the pharynx and the trachea. Okay? So air moves from pharynx to trachea through larynx. Okay? Then what happens? Air passes through the right and left bronchus. Right? Trachea divides into two parts, two branches. Those are known as left and right bronchus. Therefore, what happens? From trachea, air passes through the right and left bronchus, which means to the right and left sides of the body. Right? Then what happens? Air reaches the lungs and exchange of air. Now, exchange of air means oxygen is given to the blood, carbon dioxide in the blood is given back to the lungs. This is known as exchange of air. Okay, air reaches the lungs and exchange of air. Oxygen is air is absorbed to the blood, then carbon dioxide in blood is moved to lungs. Why does our body has to move the carbon dioxide into the lungs? Because the carbon dioxide should be removed from your body. The only way to remove the carbon dioxide is through the lungs. Therefore, your blood system has to give this carbon dioxide in the blood to the lungs. Right, children? Then what happens? Then exhaled air passes back through the same path and released out through the nasal cavity. What is the path again? From the alveoli to the bronchioles, then to bronchus, then to trachea, larynx, pharynx, nasal cavity, and then out. Right, children? Okay, we'll go through this again. Intake of inhaled air into the nasal cavity. Then air gets warmed and filtered while passing along the nasal cavity and add wetness. The three changes take place in the inhaled air in the nasal cavity. Right? Air moves from pharynx to trachea through larynx, and then air passes through the right and left bronchus. Okay? Air reaches the lungs and exchange of air, oxygen, carbon dioxide, change from one place to another place. Exchange, right? Oxygen in air is absorbed to the blood. Then carbon dioxide in blood is moved to lungs. Okay? Then exhaled air. Now this carbon dioxide which is absorbed by the lung, should be sent out. Therefore, it takes the same path. Okay? Then exhaled air passes back through the same path and released out through the nasal cavity. Right, children? So this is the process that takes place in your respiratory system. So I hope you understood this one. So you are going to learn about this system in detail in the upper grades. Okay, children? Okay. So we have another part, extra knowledge. Look at this picture. The part of the respiratory system is given a picture showing the action of epiglottis. What is epiglottis? The food bolus that comes to the pharynx passes to the esophagus without going into the trachea, as the door of the trachea is closed. Now I told you all The pharynx is the common passage to both the digestive system and the respiratory system. From just below the pharynx, the system or the tract, the path divides into two parts. The front is the trachea. The other tubular structure present behind the trachea is the esophagus. Right? Look at this picture, this tiny flap-like part. This lid-like part is present here. What is the importance of this? This is known as the epiglottis. Because these two tubular parts present very close to each other, if you cannot close this trachea, what will happen when you swallow food? If there's no protection here, protective door here, what will happen? When you eat food, the food might enter the trachea. What will happen if the food enters your trachea? It will reach your lungs and it will block the path of the air. Therefore, air will not be able to reach your lungs and you will die without oxygen. Therefore, it's a must to close this path up when you are swallowing food so that the food will not enter the wrong path. It will go through the esophagus itself. For this purpose, there's a small structure, a door-like, a lid-like structure called epiglottis is present. Right? So what happens? Whenever you swallow food, it instantly closes the trachea or the respiratory tract so that the food will not enter the respiratory tract. Okay, children, so food will always take the esophagus because of this protective door-like part, epiglottis. Now, this is the reason you can never breathe while you are swallowing food. Try to do it. Right? When you swallow food, you can never ever breathe. That is because when you swallow food, this trachea automatically closes. Therefore, your breathing means you are sending air to your lungs. You can't do that because the path is closed. That is why you cannot breathe and swallow food at the same time. Right? These are very interesting factors. When you read books and other articles, you will improve your knowledge with these type of facts. Okay? Right. Okay. So we have another activity to do. Make a suitable model to demonstrate the human respiratory system. Present it to the class. This also can be done as an individual activity or even a group activity. Right? Earlier, when we are learning about the digestive system, I told you all what are the materials that you can use. You can use clay and you can use polythene bags. Even here, you can use pen tubes to demonstrate that, let's say that to indicate the tubular structures, because these trachea and bronchioles, they are tubular structures, right? So instead of those structures, you can use empty pen tubes or even saline tubes also can be used. Okay, children, these type of structures. And then at the end, you can tie up balloons or polythene bags. So these will be the lungs. Okay, children. And with clay, you can make these other parts related, and even you can use paper pulp. If you are going to fix it on a board, you can use these structures with paper pulp. But these type of structures, it's better to use a polythene bag tied with rubber bands here, or even balloon membrane, so that you can easily show that these are the lungs. Okay, children. We'll move on to the next. Look at this one. A certain structure similar to the previous activities given here. The diagram given below shows the model of the human respiratory system. Okay, look at this one. How to make this? Using a bell jar. You all can see here, tubes are fixed here. Right? So at the end of each tube, rubber balloons are fixed. 2 rubber balloons are fixed, and at the bottom, what is fixed? A rubber membrane is fixed. What is this one, children? When you consider this bell jar, it is similar to the thoracic cavity or your chest cavity, right? And these two, obviously, they are similar to your lungs, right? So these tubular structures are similar to trachea and bronchi. What about this rubber membrane, children? It is related. It is similar to the diaphragm, right? So what you have to do is, when you pull this rubber membrane down, you will realize that these two balloons fixed to these tubes get filled with air. Right? A similar process takes place in your lungs as well. So when you inhale, this diaphragm goes down. It's a muscular structure. You are going to learn this process better in the upper grades in detail, right? So what happens when you inhale? What actually happens is the diaphragm moves down. Because the diaphragm moves down, the thoracic cavity's capacity increases, right? So in order to the increased capacity, air pressure reduces. Because of that, air comes from outside to inside and the lungs get filled with air. So that is why when we pull this rubber membrane down, you will realize that these two balloons fixed will get filled with air. Right, children? The similar process takes place in the real lungs as well. So at home, you can't find the bell jar. You can cut a mega bottle. Right? You can consider this is the mouth of the mega bottle and you can cut half of it and you can make a similar structure. Okay, children? We are going to go to the lab to observe this structure now. Right, children? Now we are going to study this model of the respiratory system. Right, children? Now we all know the parts of the respiratory system. Therefore, this is going to be very easy for you all. Now, you also can try to make something like this at home. You all can see here I have used a bell jar. Right? So, instead of the bell jar, you all can use a part of the mega bottle to make this model. Okay? And here, bottom of this we have to cover with the we can even use a rubber membrane. No, here I have used a polythene. Okay, children? And you all can see inside this bell jar, you all can see a Y-shaped tube base connected to this top part. Right? This is a rubber stopper. And we have taken one side of the Y-shaped tube across this through this rubber stopper. Okay? And to the other ends of the Y-shaped tube, you all can see I have fixed two balloons. Okay. So, this is a model of the human respiratory system. Can you identify what are the parts of the human respiratory system used in this model, children? What is this bell jar? Now, you all know when you consider the lungs, the human respiratory system, its main organs are the lungs. Lungs are protected inside the rib cage. Right, children? Inside the rib cage in the chest cavity. Now, we can consider this is the rib cage or even the chest cavity. Right, children? This is the rib cage or even the chest cavity. Either way is fine. Okay? And what is this part, children? You all know that when we inhale air, there's a tubular structure which is known as trachea. Right? We can identify this part as trachea. Right? And you all know that inside the chest cavity, this trachea divides into two parts or two other tubes. Right? They are known as bronchi. Okay? So, there are two sides, left side and right side. This side is known as the left bronchus and this side is known as the right bronchus. So, these other two ends of the Y-shaped tube is equal to the bronchi, left and right bronchi. Okay, children? So, bronchi inside the lungs branches out, but here it's not given. What are these balloons, children? These balloons are similar to the lungs. Okay, the balloons are similar to the lungs. And what about this polythene membrane? You can even use a rubber membrane. What about the polythene membrane? This is equal to your diaphragm. Right? This is similar to the diaphragm. Okay. So, how does this work? So, using this model, not only the structure, we can even study the function of the respiratory system to a certain extent. Right? Now, you have to understand when we inhale, the diaphragm goes down. Right? When the diaphragm goes down, the chest cavity's volume increases. So, when the volume increases, there's enough space for air to come inside. Right? So, when the diaphragm goes down, what happens? Your lungs expand and air comes inside. This is known as inhaling. we will study inhaling using this structure. Now I explained you all, the diaphragm goes down when you inhale. So I'm going to pull this polythene membrane down, check what happens to the two balloons, okay? Right. What happens, children? You all can see the two balloons inflate slightly, right? Now this is inhaling. When I press this down, what happens? Inside this bell jar, the volume increases. When the volume inside increases, the air pressure inside decreases. When the air pressure decreases, which means more air from outside can flow towards this bell jar. That is why when more air comes through this tube, that is why that air goes in these balloons and these balloons inflate. Right? Again observe, when I press this, they inflate. What happens when I press this up? You all can see very clearly these two balloons deflate. What is the reason? Remember children, when we exhale, what happens? Our diaphragm goes up. When the diaphragm goes up, what happens? Inside the chest cavity, the air pressure increases, right? Because the space becomes less and air pressure increases. Therefore, the excess amount of air is sent out. This is known as exhalation. So now you can understand the whole process, children. Here, this polythene membrane, which is similar to the diaphragm, when I press it down, it is similar to the diaphragm goes down. You all can see the two balloons inflate, which means the lungs get filled with air. This is the inhalation or inhaling process, right? Now, when I press this polythene membrane up, what happens? The polythene membrane is similar to the diaphragm, which means when the diaphragm goes up, what happens, children? The two balloons deflate, which means what happens to the lungs? Lungs send the air out. This is known as the exhalation process. So after doing this activity, it's very clear that this model can be used to study the structure and the function of the human respiratory system. Right, children. So you observed the structure and the function of this setup, right? As I explained you all, it is something similar to the real function that takes place in the lungs, okay? Right. So the rubber membrane, rubber balloons, the bell jar and the Y tubes. Where were the Y tubes again, children? This was the Y tube. Look at this one. We can't see it very clearly because it is sent through this cork stopper, right? But when you consider, the shape of it is Y shape. This is the Y tube. This stem part is sent through the rubber stopper, right? So the rubber membrane, rubber balloons, the bell jar and Y tubes in the figure, the above one, are represent the different parts of the human respiratory system. Name them. I already explained you all. They are similar to each part, right? Let's write the rubber membrane, rubber membrane, rubber balloons, rubber balloons, bell jar, and Y tubes. Y tube. Right, children? So rubber membrane, this is the rubber membrane. I told you all it is similar to the diaphragm. Rubber balloons, lungs. Diaphragm, rubber balloons, lungs. What about the bell jar? Here bell jar is similar to the thoracic cavity, right? Or the thorax. Thoracic cavity. And finally the Y tube, look at this one. This white tube is equal. Now this part is equal to trachea. You all know that trachea divides into two parts. What are those two parts? Two branches, left and right, bronchus, right? So this white tube is equal to the trachea and bronchi together, right? White tube, trachea plus right? Rubber membrane is the diaphragm, rubber balloons are the lungs, Belgia is the thoracic cavity, white tube is the trachea and bronchi together. So we have completed the entire lesson. We will go see what we learned in the lesson under summary, right? The cell is the basic structural and functional unit of the living beings. Order of the organizational levels of the body is, we learned this, from cells, tissues, organs, systems, organism. We learned that the tissue is formed by combination of cells, organs is formed by combination of several tissues, a system is formed by as a combination of number of organs, and an organism is made by combining all the systems in the body, right? Food is converted to a simple state by the digestive system so that food could be absorbed to the body. This is the purpose of having a digestive system, because otherwise we cannot absorb the nutrients present in the food as it is, because they are larger molecules. They have to be simplified, okay? The respiratory process contributes to obtain oxygen needed to produce energy. To produce energy, simple food and oxygen must be there, right? So simple food is provided by the digestive system. Oxygen is provided by the respiratory system. Okay? And excretion of carbon dioxide and water vapor. Because as a result of respiration, carbon dioxide and water vapor is produced, and that is sent out through the respiratory system. Okay? And finally, the process where energy is produced by reacting simple foods with oxygen is called respiration. So we have completed the entire lesson. I hope you learned many new things under this lesson, and I hope you all enjoyed this lesson. So in the next chapter, we are going to do the exercise. So as usual, you all have to answer all the questions all by yourselves before you watch the next chapter.
To watch these important lessons, subscribe to DP Education's YouTube channel right now. Click on the bell icon to stay updated on the latest lessons. Sri Lanka's largest free online school, DP Education.